Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about being overlooked as a woman and the psychological effects that can take place when that happens. Now, I'm not saying this based off of any sort of research that I found. Instead, I'm just basing it off of personal experience, how I've felt in that position, and how maybe other women in similar positions have maybe felt. So, when you're someone who doesn't really get approached that often, right? Specifically as a woman, I feel like the issue is there is so much rhetoric that goes on that basically is promoted that's like, oh, well, women live life on easy mode, or oh, all women get approached, and all women have to deal with this and all women have to deal with that. And to be honest, I've heard it from both men and women, which I think makes it even worse, because if it was just men, that would be one thing. But when you even have women saying, like, all women can relate to this, all women know what this is like, and it's something that you have no experience with, it can feel very othering, and you can feel a certain amount of shame about it, especially when it comes to something like this, right? Because I feel like there's no real denying how important society makes it for a woman to be beautiful. Um, Beauty is a woman's currency a lot of time, and so the more of it she has, the more leverage she has. A lot of people like to talk about how we're in a patriarchy, and so you can really use your beauty to your advantage. And I talked about that in my Can You Tell If You're Attractive video. But with that being said, it's, you know, if you are a, considered a very beautiful woman, then you do get a lot of, uh, you know, leverage. You get your pick, you get to be more picky, and you pretty much can get more so what you want. And I've heard it said that a lot of times that's why a lot of desirable women are single, because they get so picky because of the position that they've been put in, that they never really settle on one person. But, when you're on the exact opposite spectrum of that, and I'm not necessarily saying that you're someone who's ugly. I know that would be the implied opposite. But also, like I said in the Can You Tell You're Attractive video, if you're someone who's, even if you're attractive, but you're not treated as such, then, you can have very similar experiences to someone who maybe isn't seen as attractive, and therefore you can be in the same category. And so if you're someone who, for whatever reason, has never really been someone who was approached, who was never really desired, specifically as a woman, when I feel like that is something that society says is, that's what women go through. That's the woman's place, and you know, uh, every woman goes through that, and you know, but when it doesn't happen to you, I feel like it starts to really make you feel like there's something wrong with you. And, I'm always promoting self love. Self love can help to a degree, but, like I talked about in my self perception versus societal perception video, even if you have self love and you think the world of yourself, you know, society may not agree. And, it just, it can be hard if what you think is the opposite and you have to always fight what society is saying about you. You know, some people are built like that and they can do it. It's pretty easy for them. But I don't think that that's going to be the case for everybody. It can be hard. And so I feel like, with men, a lot of times they get taught that, they're going to get rejected a lot. And it could even come down to, well, if you get your money up, then you'll be more desirable. If you do this, you'll be more desirable. If you do that, like men are pretty much set up, I feel like, to get rejected by women. They just are. Um, but also, too, they're told things that they can possibly do to have that changed. And even when it comes to how a man will select a woman, especially, once he gets the ability to, if he does the things that people say to do to be more appealing to women, a lot of times he does get more choice than I feel like women do, right? Because for one thing, women are told, well, you're always going to be desired no matter what you look like. And um and as far as what to do to I mean, in all honesty, I don't really hear a lot about what a woman can do to get a man if she's not already getting men. And I feel like part of the reason is because it's assumed that she's already getting them because she's a woman. As a woman, you have to be getting someone, even if they're not attractive. And maybe that's true. Maybe you do get approached by guys who they're not the most attractive. But even if you are, I mean, if you're getting approached by the least desirable people all the time, and those are the only people you get approached by, so either you get approached by no one or just the least desirable people, I feel like either way it's gonna do something to your psyche. Now, I do feel like maybe in certain cases there are reasons that you're not getting approached that maybe you can work on. Maybe it's your personality, or maybe it's your look. And, maybe as far as your look, it's not that you have to go as far as, like plastic surgery or something like that. Maybe it's just your style of dress, the way you wear your hair, um, you know, the the way you're applying your makeup, or the fact that you are or aren't wearing it at all. It could just be something as surface layer as that. But either way, in general, I feel like women aren't really told things to do to attract men if they aren't already. Like you'll hear stuff like, okay, like maybe you'll hear to get plastic surgery or to wear makeup. But on the flip side, you'll hear guys say that they don't even like plastic surgery and makeup. And then I think a lot of women would argue, oh, they say that, but obviously they do, because these women, like on Instagram and everything, they get a lot of likes and they get, flued out or whatever. Um, but then you'll hear that, yeah, that happens, but, there's a certain mindset that men have when they do that, and it's not really what you want. So basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of mixed messaging when it comes to women. But the thing is, I feel like when you're not desired really as a woman and romantically, and you don't really get that attention, it really sets you up. Like, it sets you up really, really bad, potentially to be desperate, right? And it sets you up to get taken advantage of really badly, or just to put yourself in a bad position. I'm not even saying getting taken advantage of, because I think it could be the opposite. Because, see, here's the thing: if you're someone who never really is approached, right? Whether you're attractive or not, regardless of what the reasons are, when you do finally get approached, I feel like because you're so unused to it, you are extremely suspicious, right? Either that, or you're the exact opposite in a sense. And or really, a lot of times I feel like it goes together, right? So, say for example, and there are two sides of this. There's the person who's less desirable, and then the person who is more desirable. I'm going to touch on the more desirable right now. But say someone that you find very desirable approaches you, but you've never really been approached before by really anyone, or maybe if you have, it's always been by someone who you weren't particularly interested in. Well, now that this person is approaching you who is attractive, I feel like there's potentially two things that are going to happen. They could either happen exclusively or together. There's desperation, and then there's excitement. No, I'm sorry. I meant skepticism and excitement. The desperation kind of can go hand in hand with the excitement. Uh, but what I mean is, so let's take it from the skepticism point of view. Someone who you find very desirable approaches you, but that's not something that you have experience with. So now you're looking at this person, and you can't really go into it with a pure heart, because you're thinking, why is this person approaching me? Is this for pure reasons, or is this some sort of setup? And if you're trying to be more positive and confident, then you'd like to say that, okay, no, this person, they see me, they like what they see, they want me. And so, this is cool. This feels nice. I'm glad this is actually happening. Uh, and this is exciting, right? Um, there's looking at it that way, and that could be true. But then there's the other side of, okay, you know what? This has never happened to me before. This is really weird. Um, there has to be a catch. This can't be as good as it seems. There has to be something to this. I don't know what it is, but I can't trust it. Now, because this person isn't someone that you have a lot of experience with, you could take a chance either way. But I feel like when you're in this position where it's something that you're not exposed to very often, it can have very bad effects, very detrimental effects for, either way, right? Because say you let the skepticism, the pessimism win, right? You're like, you know what? This seems too good to be true. You know what they say about stuff that's too good to be true. This is a setup. I don't know what this is. I am going to just let this person go. I'm going to reject, and I'm going to protect my heart, right? You decide to take the guarded approach. Um, well, the thing is, if that person was genuine, then you missed out on a potentially very positive experience. On the other hand, though, if you say, you know, like I said, this person sees me, I'm going to give it a shot, and you go for it. If it turns out that it really was a setup, it's going to set you back even more because you already were doubtful about it potentially in the first place, you know? Or say you were just so excited that it was finally happening for you. Maybe you didn't have any doubts in your mind, but then it ended up being a setup. And so now you become pessimistic. You become skeptical now because now you actually have some experience with someone desirable approaching you, but it was a negative one. So your only experience with it ended up being negative, and now you get guarded, and now it's you have to heal, and now it's going to be that much harder for you to accept if it ever does happen again. It's a gamble. Now, you could try to take a lukewarm, ugh, I don't know why I can't talk, I'm sorry. You could try to take a lukewarm approach to things, go in the middle, and say, okay, well, I'm not really sure about this person's intent, but this could be okay. So I'll see what they want, but I'm not going to put my all into it. I'm just going to see. I'll give a little bit. I'll give a little bit. I would say that that's the safest approach, but I feel like it needs to be acknowledged that again, when you're in this mindset where it's so foreign to you, I feel like that is going to in most cases affect the outcomes because even though you're going into this kind of lukewarm, you probably are more on the skepticism side. Probably. Maybe you're not. But I feel like it can, when you're still guarded to a certain extent, and maybe people would say this is just how you should go into it anyway, whether you're commonly approached or not. But I feel like if you're someone who isn't, because of the psyche that you could be going into it with, um, you might be more guarded and you might seem more standoffish or cold or unnatural just because this is something that you're not really all that used to. And the person may sense it and they may lose interest because they think you're not interested, and then again that could contribute to another negative experience, right? The person loses interest because your energy is off, and then you're thinking, oh, see, look, they really weren't all that interested. And it's not even that they weren't interested, they were, but they thought you weren't interested because your energy was off, and your energy was only off because of the psyche you went into it with, because you weren't used to being approached to by a person like this. So it's almost like it needs to happen a few times for you to get comfortable with it so that it doesn't seem like something that's so rare or odd or like you're being scammed. And then you can start to feel more confident about it. But again, it really does depend on where your psyche is with it. But I know, for me, I tend to be very much on the side of skepticism. And another thing that I've noted that I feel like doesn't help is who you have in your corner, because it's not always positive and it can start to throw you off. What I mean by that is I have had times where I've thought that, a guy was maybe interested in me, and I actually did think he was desirable. But then I tell someone else, like I'll tell us, certain friends or a certain friend, And then I get told essentially like, "Oh no, that's not the case." And it's that every time. Like no matter the situation, it's like in this scenario, oh, it's a scam. In this scenario, oh, they were just being nice. Or this, and it's like that starts to get weird too, because on the one hand, if this person is correct, then essentially you're still getting rejected over and over and over. You're still having these negative experiences. None of it is real. You're still not being approached by someone desirable. On the other hand, though, you could really be thinking, like, well, no, I really think that were, that they, that they were interested. I really do. And why is it that you want me to feel like they didn't? It's almost like you don't want me to feel desirable. And then it starts to feel weird, and it's like you start questioning that friendship. It's like, are you being real with me, or are you trying to bring me down? Like, is this a me not being desirable issue and they're right, and this isn't real, or is this a you're trying to bring or keep me down issue and I got a friend issue? He does get more choice, and then the other than thing I feel like is, women like, do, right? You weren't even there. Because for one thing, so women are told, you don't even know what happened. Well, so you're always going to be so desired, no matter what you look like, and what I'm saying, like, isn't true. And it's as far like you were there, and you could be like, no. Listen, it's not what you think. I mean, okay? In all honesty, I don't really hear a lot about what a woman can do to get a man if she's not already getting men. And I feel like part of the reason is because it's assumed that she's already getting because she's a woman. Basically, if you don't consistently as a woman, you have to be getting someone consistently being told, even like, if they're not attractive, and it's like, okay. What is maybe that's true. Maybe, I think the same could even be said get for approached by guys who, if someone's constantly saying yes too, they're not. I mean, that could be an issue because attractive, especially if you're kind of. Even if you are clearly being delusional, I mean, if this person is just, approached by, it's like, okay, either way, the least it could be desirable people all the time, and those are the only people you get approached by. So either you get approached by no one, basically, or all just the least desirable people. I feel like either way, as it's gonna do something to your psyche. You're not approached romantically. Now, I do feel like maybe in certain cases there are reasons. I feel like it really can be a big problem that maybe you can work on of the expectations maybe that put on women. It's your personality, or maybe it's your just look for being and, women. As far maybe, as far as your just look, exist, it's not that and you'll get attention. As far as like it's not like something like that. Maybe like it's men will get told a lot of times style of dress, the way that they have to do something, they have to be something, and become something. The way you're applying your makeup, or the fact that you are or aren't wearing it at all, just be. It could just exist, and this is going to happen. Surface layer. So then, when it doesn't, but either way, in general, I feel like it feels bad. I mean, it's just like when I've heard cases to attract men, if they aren't already. Girls like don't get rejected. Like, okay, like maybe if they go up and try to talk to a guy, they have like 100%. But on the flip side, you'll hear guys say that they don't even like plastic surgery. And if you're a girl who gets told that, and then I think a lot of women would argue, you try to approach a guy and you get turned down. Obviously, they do. Because that's gonna do something like on Instagram and everything. It just is a lot of likes, and they get. I don't really promote or a girl, shooting her shot with a guy. But again, if you're being told that if that happens, do that, but there's a certain you're gonna have success just because you're a girl. Men have, and then you don't, and it's not really what you want. So basically, what I'm saying is some sort of there's really a lot of lasting effect on you because again, A
when it
guy, a lot of
comes
times,
to
is told if
women.
he shoots a shot, he's probably
But the
gonna get a
thing
no. He's
is,
probably gonna get rejected.
I feel
I'm
like
not gonna get into,
when
when they get
you're
rejected and
not
they, react in
desired
certain
really
crazy
as a
ways. I'm not gonna get
woman
into that. It's not
and
the point. The
romantically,
point is
and you
that
don't really
they
get
are
that
often told
attention,
they're gonna be
it
rejected,
really
but
sets you up.
women get told the
Like, it
opposite.
sets you up
And so
really,
I
really
feel like when
bad.
you're told,
Um,
things are gonna go a
Potentially
certain way for you simply because you're
for
a
to
woman.
be desperate,
And
right?
again,
And it
too,
sets
because
you
it's
up
just
to get
because you're a
taken
woman,
advantage
it's not
of
because of
really
any sort of
badly,
effort
or
you
just to
put
put
into it.
yourself
When
in
it
a
doesn't
bad
work out
position.
for
I'm not even
you,
saying
when you
getting taken
don't
advantage of, because I
get
think it could
that
be the opposite. Because
expectation, at
see,
that
here's the
point,
thing:
not only do you feel
if you're
like,
someone who
what's wrong
never
with me
really
because
is
I'm a woman and
approached,
this isn't
right?
happening the way that everyone says that it's
Whether
supposed
you're
to,
attractive
it's
or
also
not,
like, well, this is just
regardless
supposed to
of what
happen because
the
I'm a woman.
reasons
So
are, when
now,
you
like,
do
there's not
finally get
anything that I can
approached,
do to make it happen
I
because
feel
it was just
like
supposed to
because
happen.
you're so unused to
So if
it,
it's not happening for me,
you
I'm just
are
doomed.
extremely
I
suspicious.
feel like that's what ends up happening,
right?
unfortunately.
Either that, or
So
you're the exact
I just think it's a
opposite
really,
in a sense. And
it's just a really
or
messed up
really, a
place
lot
to
of times I feel
be.
like it goes together, right? So
And
say,
I
for
know
example,
people
and
talk about,
there
like,
are
there's
two sides of this.
coaching
There's
and
the person
you could
who's
talk
less
to a
desirable, and then the
counselor.
person who's more
And
desirable. I'm going to touch on the more
hopefully, if
desirable
you're even able
right
to do
now.
those things,
But
hopefully they
say
would help.
someone that you
But I'm
find
just talking
very
about being
desirable
put
approaches you,
in that
but
position
you've
in the
never really
first
been
place,
approached
and the
before
effects
by
that it can
really
have. I feel
anyone,
like
or
it
maybe
just
if you
doesn't get
have,
talked
it's always
about
been by
very
someone who
often,
you weren't
and it gets
particularly interested
very
in.
overlooked. And
Well,
again,
now that this
I don't
person
think
is
you have to
approaching
be
you,
someone who people would
is
consider
attractive, I feel like there's
unattractive
potentially two things that
or
are going to happen.
average. I think you could be
They could either
considered
happen
more on the
exclusively
attractive
or
side,
together.
and it still
There's
happens to you.
desperation, and then there's excitement.
So I don't think that it's
No, I'm sorry.
even,
I meant skepticism
specifically
and excitement.
just tied
The
down to
desperation
looks.
kind
I think
of
it can go
have a
hand
lot
in
to
hand
do
with
the
it, but not
excitement.
necessarily because there's so
But
much that
what
can
I
go
mean
into
is,
it.
so let's take it
And
from
I already
the
went
skepticism
into it,
point
like I
of view.
said, in
Someone
the
who you
the
find
video about
very
can you tell if you're
desirable
attractive. I
approaches
went
you,
more into that,
that's
but
not something that
you
you have
know,
experience with. So now you're looking at this
just
person,
I
and
feel like it really
you can't really
can
go
have
into it with a pure heart,
pretty bad
because
effects
you're
on you,
thinking,
and it doesn't get
why
talked
is
about.
this
And
person approaching
when
me?
you're the person who doesn't
Is
get
this for
what you want
pure
or who
reasons,
you want
or
over
is this
and
some sort
over
of
and
setup?
over, it really
And
leads to desperation.
if you're
And I
trying to
think
be more
it's why
positive
you
and
see
confident,
so
then you'd
many
like to say
women
that,
get
okay,
into
no, this
situations that are
person,
not
they
the
see me,
best.
they
Not only do they get
like
into
what
them,
they
but they
see,
stay in
want
them
me,
because
and so
at
you
this
know,
point they're so desperate.
this is cool.
They're
This feels
so
nice. I'm glad this
tired.
is actually happening.
And I know that there's this really
And this
negative
is exciting,
connotation with being
right?
desperate.
There's looking at it that way,
And while
and that
that's
could be
understandable,
true.
I feel like there
But then there's
is
the other side
sympathy
of,
that should be
okay,
extended
what?
there,
This
because
has never happened to me
desperation
before. This is
comes
really
from a
weird.
place of
Um,
going
there
without.
has to be a catch.
And if
If
it's
it's something,
this can't be as
if
good
it's
as it
something
seems.
as
There has
important
to
as
be
as
something to
feeling
this.
I don't know what it
Desired
is, but
or
I can't
needed or wanted or
trust it.
whatever, especially when society is
Now,
shoved down your throat that
because
that's
this
kind of what you
person
should
isn't
be
someone
going
that you
through
have
or
a lot of
expecting
experience with,
just simply for being a woman,
you could
then it
take a
starts
chance
to
either
feel
way.
really bad, especially if you start to add on
But
things
I
like,
feel
if
like
you were
when
a
you're in
woman
this
who
position
wanted
where it's something
a
that
relationship
you're not
because you
exposed
wanted a
to
family and
very
kids
often,
and that whole thing, and then
it
it's
can
like,
have
your biological
very
clock
bad
is ticking.
effects,
There's that whole
very
rhetoric,
detrimental
and
effects.
it's
For,
just
either way, right? Because say you let the skeptic,
I feel like it just makes it worse,
pessimism win.
It just makes
right?
it worse.
You're like, you know what? This
And,
seems too good to be true. You know what they
I
say
feel like
about
there's just
stuff
not
that's too good to be
enough
true.
compassion.
This is a setup. I don't know what this is
given to people
I
in
am
the
going
situation.
to just let this
But
person
I
go.
guess,
I'm gonna reject,
and
I'm gonna
maybe
protect my heart.
there
right?
aren't a lot
You
of
decide
women
to
in
take
this
the guarded
position.
approach.
I don't know. Well, the thing is, if that person
Maybe
was
most
genuine,
women aren't
then
experiencing
you
it,
missed out on a
but for the ones
potentially
that are,
very positive
for the
experience.
ones that do. On the other hand, though, if you say,
You know,
I get it. It's hard.
like I said, this person sees
And
me.
I
I'm
wanted to
going to give it
acknowledge
a
it.
shot,
So that's why I made
and you
this
go for
video.
it. If it turns
If you're
out
someone
that it
who
really was a
listens to
setup,
this and maybe you
it's going to
didn't
set you
know that it
back
was a
even
thing,
more because you
maybe you hadn't
already
heard
were
this, maybe you
doubtful about
hadn't
it
considered it,
potentially in the
then,
first place.
well, now you have it
Or
to
say you
consider.
weren't. You weren't.
Now
You were
you've been
just so
told
excited
different
that it was finally
perspective on
happening
it.
for you.
So,
Maybe you
I'm
didn't
glad I
have
could
any
offer
doubts in your
that to
mind.
you. But
But then it
in any
ended up being a
case,
setup.
this
And so
got
now
longer than I
you
wanted it
become
to.
pessimistic.
But I
You
am a
become
talker and I
skeptical
do
now
tend to
because
have a lot
now
to
you
say.
actually have
But if you made it to this point, thank you for
some
listening. I hope you got
experience
something
with
out
someone
of it and
desirable
that you
approaching
enjoyed
you,
and
but it
that
was a
you'll
negative
catch me in the
one.
next one.
So
If you
your
want
only
to add
experience
something
with
to the
it ended up being
conversation,
negative, and
feel
now
free to do so in the comment
you
section,
get
and
guarded,
hopefully I'll catch you
and
in the
now
next
it's
one.